I have the privilege to introduce to you John Bryant. John Bryant lives in Kansas City, although he came from Illinois. He is the Kansas City Cybersecurity Advisor. Since 1.5 years, he works for CISA. CISA stands for the Homeland Security Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, an agency that only exists for the last 5 years. I'm very much looking forward to his presentation of what is cybersecurity and what can we do to be less exposed to its risk. I invite John Bryant to the podium.
Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me okay? I'm not very good with microphones. So, yes, I am John Bryant. Prior to being with CISA, I was CIO for Army University up at Fort Leavenworth. I'm going to, this afternoon, I'm going to give you just a quick overview of the agency, the current threat environment that we're tracking, some of our resources, and then some additional resources that are available to you. So these are our 5 operational priorities. The supply chain, of course, is one of those that's concerning to us, but elections this year is our #1 priority. We are lead for election security. And then we have soft target security. That's where we work with governments and organizations on those group settings, such as the NFL draft, the Super Bowl parade, even some universities and their graduations. And then we are also responsible for cybersecurity on the federal civilian networks, and then industrial control systems. Besides these 5, we have 3 additional priorities. That would be K-12 schools. We also have healthcare systems, and also water, wastewater, because those are prime targets currently. And I'll get into some of them later on in the presentation here. So we are responsible and tasked with reducing risk in the 16 critical infrastructure sectors. You can see the definitions there to the left, but we are lead on 8 of these sectors, and we support the remaining 8. We are in Region 7. Our regional headquarters is in Kansas City, Missouri. It's down on Ward Parkway. We're currently looking for a new building because the Chinese bought our building. So we have 8 cybersecurity advisors covering the 4 states there: Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas, and Missouri. We also have 8 protective security advisors. And I'll cover the difference between those advisors later on in the presentation. Recently, we have added the election security advisor. That is another priority of ours, and we have 1 of those that works with the 4 states. And then an emergency communications coordinator. Go a little fast. Oh well, there we go. Real quick, we'll go through some of the cyber threats. And as you know, if you're connected to the internet, you can be touched by anyone from around the world. So think about that when you start connecting your devices up to the internet. So Industrial Revolution 4.0, and I think they're actually 5.0 right now with the AI, but 4.0 introduces all of those operational technologies. So we're talking heart pumps, control valves, water pumps, all of those devices that cannot be taken offline easily because they may be performing critical functions. Then we also have the Industrial Control Corporation predicting that 41.6 billion IoT devices will be connected to the internet. These are all increasing the surface, the attack surface for the internet. I'll explain a little bit of that in the next slide, but I just want to say that you know, for the IoT devices, that for me is concerning because that's where you, your grandkids, or your kids can go to Best Buy, Walmart, or any store as long as you have money, and you can buy that Ring doorbell. Excuse me, the Ring doorbell, or even put your refrigerator on the internet. Now, so these devices are all designed for plug and play. So you buy the device, you take it, you plug it into power, plug it into the internet, it works. You don't go back and change the default passwords, and you don't secure the network connection. Those now become targets for those attackers. What they do is they will easily compromise your home network, and then from there, laterally transfer into a critical infrastructure network. One of those groups that's doing it is this Chinese group, the Volt Typhoon. This group has been active for some time now, and we have actually seen where they were on a network for 5 years, and they went undetected. So what they like to do is they will target those small office and home office routers, or any of those IoT devices, and they will then, from there, compromise a business or an organizational network. That prevents any kind of geo blocks from, you know, so if they've got a block on to block a Chinese IP address, that's no longer going to work. Because now they look like they are down the street, and it could be just Jimmy logging in to check his email, when it's really these hackers moving around in your network. They use the utilities that are on the network, and they use them to remain undetected, and they move around, they plant their malware, and they plant backdoors. The intent for this is when China goes into Taiwan, they will then release their malware, taking down a water plant, taking down electricity, maybe for whole cities or regions in the US, causing chaos. So now we're scrambling to correct everything, get everything back up and running, and that's going to impede our response to their aggression in Taiwan. So Volt Typhoon and Volt Zeit are two of the Chinese groups that are using these tactics. And the Volt Zeit, they target those OT environments like the water, wastewater. And then Russia has been seen using this same tactic. These are some of our opponents that we're fighting against out there online. So we have to the left those nation states: Russia, Iran, North Korea, and China. Those have unlimited resources, and so they are always coming at us. Russia, Iran, and China, they like to go after our intellectual properties and any kind of intel collection that they can do against us. North Korea does the same thing. However, North Korea last year alone reportedly stole over $1 billion in Bitcoin. And they use that to fund their nuclear weapons systems. And then you can see some of the tactics they use there. You know, web defacement, messing around with our GPS devices. So, vulnerabilities, compromised credentials, and phishing. Those are the number 1, 2, and 3 top attack vectors right now. Oh, sorry. So on the vulnerabilities, it takes the organization about 2 months to patch or mitigate a vulnerability. Meanwhile, a bad actor, it takes 1 month, sometimes 1 week, at which point the organization becomes a victim. So you have to patch those vulnerabilities quickly, and this goes for both home and at work. Compromised credentials. That was number 2 on the list. Last year, IBM's response team reported seeing compromised credentials in 40% of the incidents they responded to. So they already have majority of the usernames and passwords they need. Then phishing, of course, that one's always a popular one because you can use AI to generate a real simple, quick, formal looking email and then send it out to 1,000 people, and all they need is one person to click on the link, and then they have access. The malware infection, that one's gone down just simply because compromised credentials has gone up. And then the third party, that's always a good one because third parties, everyone has a service provider, so they compromise one network, now they have access to multiple networks. And then advanced social engineering, this is where they're going to target a help desk at an organization, convince that help desk, that individual on the help desk, that they are an employee and that they need to and you forgot your password or whatever, and they'll change the password for you. Another one that's used for advanced social engineering is they can convince maybe your cell phone provider that you lost your phone, you bought a new phone, and you need to have your phone number transferred to the new phone. It's called SIM swap. And they use that because then a lot of times multi-factor authentication is used, where you log in and then you get a text on your phone and you have to put a number into the computer. So this information here, I requested it from the FBI. You can see it's just over a year old now, the information, but this is for the Mid-America Regional Councils. So we're talking Metro Kansas City and the 9 counties around Kansas City. To the left, you see the type of cyber attack. Above the line is the total number of funds paid out to the bad actor. Below the line is the number of attacks. To the right is the average. You can see business email compromise, the BEC, and the data breach were the highest paying attacks there per average. Now, this is all based on self-reported information, so we know that these numbers are all low because a lot of people don't report their cyber attacks when they're a victim because it has that stigma, especially ransomware. Ransomware number 6, I'll be willing to bet it may not be number 1, but it's probably number 3 or 4. But when you look at the top there, $83.7 million paid out to bad actors. That's paid out. That does not include recovery cost. You can just double that number for recovery cost. And again, that's just Kansas City Metro and the 9 counties around Kansas City Metro on the Kansas and Missouri side. So I'll get real quick and go through real quick the advisor programs. When we work with organizations, you can see participation is voluntary. We are advisors. We have no regulatory authority. Your information is protected when we have it. So this is our model for operating with organizations. And when I talk about organizations, I'm talking those SLTT organizations, state, local, tribal, territorial, and private that support those critical infrastructure sectors. We also work with nonprofits, and we have no cost resources that are available to organizations. When I come in to visit, there is no cost. I can do training, I conduct workshops, I can do assessments with the organizations, I can brief you up on current threats and environments. We have protective security advisors and cybersecurity advisors. We know what cybersecurity advisors do. Protective security advisors, they work more on the physical side. So they would come up here, meet with you, they would walk around your campus and see what areas are vulnerable physically. So do you have bollards or something keeping a vehicle from driving through your front door, for instance? Or do you have some other mitigation factors? They'll also look at some of your IT stuff. They'll look at your access control systems on your comms closets, on your front doors, you name it. Where is your data center? Is it in a secure area? So these are our regional services up at the top. So cyber protective visits, that's where you invite me to your organization, I sit down with you, I go through, cover all of our services in depth, and then we have a conversation. I want to learn about your challenges, what keeps you up at night, and how we can help. Then we have our cyber resilience review. That's one of our more comprehensive assessments. We have workshops that we conduct. We do tabletop exercises. We have, for enterprise services, we have cyber hygiene scanning, and we have web application scanning and protective DNS services. Those services, I introduce you to our cybersecurity division back on the East Coast. They set you up in an application, and you can get the scanning services provided to you, the reports. And then we have the national services where we have remote penetration tests, we have the risk and vulnerability assessment, and the validated architecture design review. Now those, excuse me, the remote penetration test, that runs about 6 weeks, and they conduct that all remote from the East Coast. The risk and vulnerability assessment, first week is remote. They do a pen test. They look around at your border on the outside, what's publicly available out there. Then they'll come on site for a week and do the same thing, looking from the inside out. Excuse me. So this is the Protective Security Advisor assessments. You got the safe walkthrough, that's informal. Then the security assessment at first entry. Now I've talked about those a little bit. So these are those assessments where they're gonna come on site, work with your leadership, talk to individuals, and then they're gonna identify those vulnerable areas. Cyber hygiene scanning. We wanna sign every organization we need up for this. What this is your organization provides public-facing IP addresses. On a weekly basis, we scan them for vulnerabilities. You receive a report every Monday on those vulnerabilities, so now you can prioritize the patching and mitigation of those vulnerabilities before you become a victim. And then this is our joint cyber defense collaborative. We work with these organizations, these companies. These are third-party trusted individual groups and organizations. We work with them to develop security frameworks for cloud computing, additional resources that they provide for us, some third-party tools that are provided at no cost. But we work with them, and with our previous cyber hygiene scanning, those programs support these two pilots. The ransomware vulnerability pilot, what that is through a third party, trusted third party, or through our own service, we have identified a vulnerability on one of your public-facing IP devices, and it's currently being targeted by bad actors, by ransomware groups. I will get an email from my headquarters, and then I would call your IT manager or leader. They would then, I would provide them the information through email and over the phone on what they need to do to mitigate that vulnerability. We encourage them to mitigate it, but again, we do not have any regulatory authority, so it's up to them. On the pre-ransomware notification pilot, this works the same way, only the difference is we've seen a known ransomware actor's IP address reaching into your public-facing IP space. I get a call or an email from my headquarters. I contact you, and I'm going to ask you for your personal email address, and then I'm going to send you the indicators of compromise and other information to conduct your investigation. You will then, we encourage you to then do your investigation, see if they've already compromised your network or not. They may have already gotten into your network. If so, you now have the opportunity to kick them off the network before they encrypt your data. If not, then you have the ability to put in additional security controls and alerts to monitor that activity. This, I always promote this when I do a presentation, because so many times when I contact an organization, you'd be surprised at how many do not know about CISA, and they definitely don't know John Bryant. And so when I call them, I have been told, you know, this is after 2 or 3 calls, I've been told, do not call me again, and they hang up on me when I'm trying to help them. If they're close enough, then they're lucky, because I will get in my government car and I will drive on site and I will provide them a printed copy of what they need to look for. I have never been kicked out of an organization yet for that, so that works anyway. But anyway, I always like to promote these programs, because these have only been running for just over a year now. And I will tell you that these 2 pilots keep us busy. I'm actually waiting for a potential victim to give me a call right now, but I have not yet received a call back from my voicemail.
John,
Yeah.
how do you, if you phone someone, I typically would say, you reaching out to me, something is fishy, I'm not going to assume that what you tell me is right.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem. And so, you know, it's one of those deals of, hi, I'm with the government, I'm here to help. Yeah, But we can, they're working on a way to where we send you to our website, and you can call a phone number back at headquarters to verify it. Now, they're still kind of working that out. It's still a little bit rough, but they are looking at something along those lines. Hopefully they'll make it easier in the future here.
Because with my banks, if I get a phone call from the bank, I want to say, what's the website? And typically, click.
Yeah. Well, and you know, think about when I ask for your personal email address. Yeah, that's going to really raise suspicion too. So yeah. So yeah, we get that quite a bit. Yes, ma'am.
You know the big controversy about TikTok.
Yep.
Where is that right now? Because I understand that they're trying to get the Chinese to sell it to someone else, sell their product to someone else. How's that going?
Honestly, I don't know that, you know, because that's, you know, we're talking private companies and stuff. We really don't have much play in it. All we do is we say, all right, U.S. government officials and employees, you cannot have it on your phone. That's the best we can do, unfortunately. Now, if it was a government organization, we would have more authority over it. But yeah, right now, I don't know what the decision has been made, if any. I know that they are still pushing to either sell it or ban it from the U.S.
I don't think the population understands the whole thing, because a lot of people are upset because they use TikTok especially as a business, as a livelihood.
Yeah.
And I understand that they're being.
Yeah. I actually have another slide where I talk about that a little bit more as well. So I'll get to that.
Oh, okay.
All right. So I told you K-12 schools is a priority. K-12 schools, we also want to work with a lot of those small governments as well, you know, the counties and whatnot. We want them to get signed up for the .gov domain, because the .gov domain is free to those organizations. If you qualify, they're free. And you can, we are responsible for the security on them. And a .gov domain cannot be spoofed. It cannot be taken over. But so many of these counties, if you look, they have the .org. Now, originally .org they still have some security, but we encourage all the governments to go to this .gov domain, because then their users can be confident that that is the site that they're supposed to be on. We also have emergency communication coordinators. We have one in the region. He's out of Iowa. He works a lot with the 911 call centers and emergency response teams, but he also works with organizations on their emergency communications as well. So he works with schools and universities. But he was real busy. I don't know if any of you have been watching the news, but he was real busy. Well, I guess it was yesterday, because they had, 4 states that lost 911 service, all because someone planted a light pole here in Kansas City. So it took down Nebraska, Nevada, there was a couple of others as well.
Texas.
Well, they said Texas was separate, but yeah, be surprised at how many communication lines goes through Kansas City, Missouri. When we work with organizations, we get access to information that may not be publicly available. This program protects that information. By law, we cannot share that information with the public or anyone else. So this program will keep your information confidential. It's protected from subpoenas, sunshine laws, and FOIA requests. This is what we call our situational awareness system. So you can go out to our website, you can sign up for current activity alerts, bulletins. Now we have malware next generation analysis. This is something new. You sign up for it. You receive any malware, you can submit it for analysis and get a report back on it. This is our website. There's at the broadcast button there. You can sign up for those alerts. You can also report a cyber issue. Now, cyber issue could be anything from malware, submitting malware, report a cyber attack, or even you can go there to submit a report to the IC3 and report vulnerabilities as well. If there's a vulnerability that you know about that we may not be aware of. So we have our known exploited vulnerabilities catalog. So yeah, this is where you can find out about those bugs that are in your software or in your systems that are being targeted right now by hackers or ransomware attackers. On our site, you'll find these programs: K-12 Cybersecurity, Healthcare Public Health, Shield Ready. You can see there at the bottom, Protect 2024. That's where you can find tools and information on those programs. There's toolkits out there for the K-12 schools. There's other resources for secure election officials and other information even for the public. And then the Secure by Design. This is one of those initiatives where we are working with manufacturers and web developers to get them to actually provide a secure product and not leave the cybersecurity to the customer. You can go out there, do a search for on our service catalog, look for any kind of information that you want. We have products, we have third-party tools out there. You can find antivirus, you can find malware removal, investigation utilities, intrusion detection. We got the packet sniffer there, but he's only one. You can't download him. And then we also have the bad practice catalog. This is one of those catalogs of bad practices that's been captured over the years that we make available so that the organizations and leadership can take a look at those and make sure they're not using any of those bad practices. And then get your stuff off search. So that'll take you to a spot where you can get access to 3 different search engines that search for those devices, those IoT devices and things that may be on the public internet. You can go out there, if you find something that's yours that's on the internet, you can work on getting it off of the internet. Our CSET tool, anyone can download this. I highly encourage organizations to download it and individuals. It has all of our assessments. It has secure frameworks. It has a large library of references. And then it also has tools and other best practices for those various sectors that are there. our training catalog. Go out there. Now, this is one that I promote a lot as well for schools. So the NICS website, over 6,000 cybersecurity curriculum out there, but it also has an application on the website to where if you have an individual, a student, daughter, grandson, whatever the case may be, interested or thinks they're interested in cybersecurity, they can go through this tool, select the various functions and tasks that they like to do, and that will lead them to a cybersecurity position that they may be interested in and may enjoy. And then we also have our Fed VTE out there, which has over 800 hours of online on-demand training, and then our incident response training and ICS training. TEAC's Cyber Readiness Center. This one I also encourage individuals to take advantage of. This is made available through a contract with FEMA and the Texas A&M Engineering Extension. So they make they put webinars out on the websites. Some of them are recorded, some of them are led live. You can sign up for them, and you can get out there and take advantage of those at no cost. And at no cost, if you have the student base and the location, at no cost, they will come on site and conduct that training in person. Information sharing and analysis centers. You can see there are a lot of those various ones that focus specifically on those sectors. These are all providing cybersecurity information and alerts for those sectors. There's also the MSISAC. MSISAC is a contracted partner of ours, and through them there are no cost and low cost resources that are available that complement our services. And for those in Missouri, you have the MIAC. This is actually more or less a fusion center. It's out of Jeff City. It's through the highway department, the state highway police. But they actually monitor the dark web for information on Missouri organizations, schools, and businesses. If they find any information out there, maybe they find some of your accounts out there with that information out there, they will contact the organization to inform you of that. They're also a good resource for me when because I can reach out to them if I am working with a victim, and they will help me with that victim as well. Here you go. This is the Chinese piece. Well, it's not just China. So the NDAA, that act prohibits federal organizations from using any of these devices because they are manufactured by China, North Korea, or Russia. And these are this is equipment that is known to operate here on your network, and then it sends your information back to that country, whether it be China, Russia, or North Korea. And so we were talking about TikTok earlier. The concerning piece about TikTok, well, TikTok and the DJI drones, actually, the servers are in China. So it's Chinese software, it's Chinese electronics. The reason that it's concerning that they're in China, though, is because China has two laws on the books to where if the Chinese government goes to a private company or individual and asks for that information that's on those servers, they are required by law to turn it over to the government. Now, the scary part about that with TikTok is, think about all the faces that have been captured in pictures and everything else. And then also think about all of the critical infrastructure that's been photographed and probably has geotags on it. They now have all that information. So what are they going to do with it? We can assume we know what they're going to do. I think some of us know, but anyway, That's the concerning piece on TikTok, and that's what the problem is, and why the U.S. government is trying to get it either out of China or banned from the U.S. All right, social engineering. At the individual level, this is going to be your biggest threat. So what does your digital footprint look like? You know, on the active side, you've got professional organizations, company websites, Facebook, LinkedIn. Those, you're gonna have pictures out there, you're gonna be putting professional and personal information out there. These are all little nuggets that are good for the attackers because it makes it easy for them to make an educated guess on your passwords. On the passive side, you have interviews, mobile apps, Google tracking, online subscriptions. Now they have an idea on what you're interested in, and they know how to shape that phishing email. So you may be interested in attending a conference, or you may be interested in, I don't know, growing flowers or something. And so now they have that information. It all goes towards what they can use against you. All right, password hygiene. You want to use a different account or a different password for each platform you're on, because say one platform's compromised, they would now have your password, your login for all of your other applications if it was the same. Now they could log into maybe your banking app, maybe your work, or maybe your charity. You want to use the longest passwords allowed. It takes longer to crack a 6-digit password than it does a 4, or a 12, or over a 6. And you want to use a mix of upper and lowercase letters and numbers, just as you can see there as an example. And you want to reset your password often, just so that you know that if it is, your password has been compromised and it's out there on the dark web, it is no longer valid for your accounts. And use a password manager. Those will come up with some really difficult password managers. Yes, sir.
So if I use a password manager, doesn't that mean all my passwords are at a single point of vulnerability? And how am I assured the company operating that manager has integrity?
Well, anything can be hacked. We know that.
So it seems like I'm putting all of my eggs in one basket if I use a password manager.
Well, but that's why you still want to use the long passwords, and you want to change them frequently. But the password manager, you know that when it generates a password for you, it is going to be a long password. There's not going to be anything guessable about it because it has nothing to do with you or what you like to do. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it reduces the risk. Again, this is how this is the business model on the dark web. Everything's as a service. You can buy your target's information out there. You can buy the tool to target them, and you can get those credentials, and you can be pwned, as they say. Do you understand what or test yourself or others on phishing emails? You know, do you look for that nice little nugget of $1,000? It's a complimentary conference attendance. It's exclusive to you. It's one of those must-attend events. Oh, and this is the third notice. You only have 4 hours, so hurry up and click that link. Now, if I was back at my computer, I'd hover over it, and you would see that all access pass goes to a Russian domain. But if you don't test yourself, this is what happens. Now, think about your home. All of those service providers, I've got Evergy managing my Nest thermostat. I've got my Ring doorbell. Shoot, when I drive my F-150, 2021 F-150 Ford pickup truck up to my house, it connects to my Wi-Fi. Everything's connected to the network these days. Now, Ford, do I trust Ford to secure my F-150? Well, as an individual, I don't have much of a choice. I just have to hope. But I do try and talk to them every once in a while when I go in and see if I can get them signed up for our services. But then, you know, all of the IoTs, the garage door openers, appliances, routers, smart TVs. Smart TVs, I had that listed, I had the LGs listed on the IoT convergence slide. Earlier this week, I received a report. LG, there's 91,000 LG TVs that have a vulnerability that are connected to the internet right now. This is worldwide. There's some here, there's some in Hong Kong, there's some in the UK. Do you think about patching a TV? Do you think about patching your refrigerator? Most don't. I don't. So just think about that again as the attack surface grows. If you're hit, this is where you can report your attack, your cyber attack. Now, IC3Gov. That's it. That goes to the FBI, and they will share it with CISA. But you know, there is a dollar limit as to what they will take to investigate. But here's the catch. As an individual, you may not meet that dollar amount, but we encourage you to report it to them, because if you get hit here, and then say someone in Illinois, California, Texas, they are attacked as well, and they capture monies from them. Once it gets up, they take that aggregate and then they investigate that. They won't investigate one small event, but they will investigate an aggregate large event. So there is still a chance then that you can recover your funds. They may be able to do it for you. This is what we want reported. We're looking for. You can see those, the information over there on those 10 points. You can submit your malware. These are resources in Kansas. So we have Chuck Kleinhan, who's a protective security advisor for northern side of Kansas. On the southern side of Kansas, as a protective security advisor, we have Timothy Morgan. We currently have 2 vacant positions over there for the cybersecurity side, so I'm filling in for that as well as for the Kansas City Metro. This is resources on Missouri side. So we have myself as a cybersecurity advisor in Kansas City area. I cover pretty much western Missouri. We have Tommy Miner, who's out of Liberty, and unfortunately he's taken another position, so he won't be there but another couple of weeks, I think. We have Chris Cockburn, he's a cybersecurity advisor in St. Louis. His protective security advisor is Steve Souders in St. Louis. And we have Robert Graham, who is the cybersecurity coordinator, and he is out of Jeff City, and he does a lot of work with the state there at the Capitol. These are some of the resources that that you have that are at no cost. Some of them may have a cost. So the Global Cyber Alliance, that is one that has a lot of no cost tools that you can take advantage of. And then on the right hand side, I provided some information, you know, some services that you can look into as far as they help you reduce your digital footprint. This is the recent CSF that was released by NIST. It was released in February. They added governance and supply chain security. So if any of you are ever interested in cybersecurity, you can take a look at that. Now, don't believe everything you read on the internet just because there's a picture with it. That's a quote from Abraham Lincoln. Not. I provided some links there for you. Since this is election year, you can go out there, you can do some fact checking, you can take a look at some of our resources that are out there. We have some that you might be able to take advantage of or might be interested in. I will tell you that next Tuesday, I'll get a chance in my office to make this available to Matt back there, and he will provide this, be able to provide this to you, and all of those links that are in there will be active, and you can go out there, conduct your own research, download your own tools if you're interested, and take a look at them. Outside of that, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, John. It's a scary world out here. We will make sure that both the recording of what John told us, as well as the file with active links for all the things that he showed, will be on the UNCRA website. So that way, because there's so much here, there's no way you could have remembered them all, plus an underlying thing doesn't necessarily mean that you get to the right place. So we'll make sure that you can get the full benefit of this expose of how risky the world is and can look at what you yourself can do.